Thank you for being here for the first ever Escondido's Future reality check, a snapshot of some quality of life issues that affect our city. Let me first clarify that this is not a rebuttal to or even a direct response to the mayor's State of the City address. Today's report is a result of a year and a half of regular semi-monthly meetings of our group to monitor quality of life issues in Escondido. My name is Mel Takahara, and with me are members of our steering group, Dolly McQuiston, Pat Muse, Roy Garrett, Rick Moore, and Dennis Boyer. Pat, Rick, Roy, and I will be presenting our report, and later on we will serve as a panel for the final segment and for Q&A. Escondido's Future is a nonpartisan grassroots organization whose mission is to protect quality of life for all Escondido residents, preserve our heritage of community services, and promote transparent and responsive government through strategic advocacy. As many of you know, Escondido's Future was organized about a year and a half ago in response to the city's decision to sharply reduce funding for recreation programs and to permanently close the East Valley Branch Library. Our mission statement refers to the use of strategic advocacy. An example of this was the library closure impact study, which was proposed by us and conducted by the California State University San Marcos Office of Community Service Learning. That study revealed library usage data with strong implications for public policy, facts which would have been undocumented if the study had not been done. Another example of strategic advocacy is today's reality check. We host a website and a Facebook page, and we are applying to become a 501c3 nonprofit organization. Our mission centers on quality of life, which is a driver of economic development for a suburban city such as ours. High quality of life attracts families to settle and raise their children, or seniors to relocate for retirement, or businesses that want a worker-friendly environment. It is at the heart of what makes a community livable, enjoyable, and attractive to families and business alike. Quality of life does not just happen. Even if there is great wealth and economic growth in a community or nation. The Global Policy Forum recently posted this statement. In recent years, many commentators, including Nobel laureate Amartya Sen, have questioned the equivalence of economic growth with growth in well-being and the quality of people's lives. They point out that wealth creation does not necessarily lead to broader improvements in the quality of life. Quality of life is a function of policy choices. Take Escondido. City leaders boast that our reserves are over $33 million, yet we have closed a much-used, much-appreciated branch library which served the East Valley community. This was a huge reduction in quality of life for our neighbors in the east end of town, despite the millions of dollars sitting in the reserves. In order to sustain and improve our quality of life, we must first recognize what gives our lives quality, and then allow those values to guide our policy decisions. But we are here to take a reality check. So what is the reality of our quality of life in Escondido? I'm afraid it's not a good report. Despite the stable financial condition of the city, our infrastructure of public recreation and community services is being dismantled. In 2011, we conducted a community survey in which we asked folks at the Escondido Street Fair and in various community gatherings to name the three things they valued most about Escondido. It was a very open-ended process. Just write 3 things on a blank note card in response to the question, what do you treasure about Escondido? When we compiled all of the individual items, clear groupings began to appear, and so we aggregated the items into the 3 largest groupings, which were recreation and community services, downtown and businesses, and people and community. The results were quite revealing. Escondido residents overwhelmingly said that recreation and community services were what they treasured most about Escondido, with twice as many votes as any other category. These public services are why we love living here. Yet, despite this reality, city leaders have chosen to set a new course for the city, reflecting a new set of values and policies, a new paradigm. Before we look at this new paradigm, let us first understand where we have been. Mayor Lori Filer once described Escondido as a full-service city. Now, many of us residents knew exactly what she meant because on a daily basis we experienced being part of a full-service community. There were active partnerships between the business, nonprofit, public sectors. Children, youth, and families were a clear and stated priority. And with such shared values, council members, commission members, nonprofit board members, agency staff and volunteers, community volunteers, the faith community, business owners and employees all work together for these community values. The city staff worked closely with local nonprofits such as the I Crisis and Counseling Center, the Education Compact, the History Center, and the Escondido Arts Partnership to expand and refine program resources for children, youth, families, and seniors. People trained together, learned how to work effectively together. This closely woven fabric of personal and professional relationships was at the heart of this full-service community. And the city very judiciously used tax dollars to support a wide range of nonprofit agency programs, which were carefully screened and recommended by the Community Services Commission. The city clearly demonstrated a spirit of service to the community. That was then. But now, the very core purpose of city government has been redefined. We hear from the council dais, for example, that the city is not responsible for at-risk youth. They are the parents' responsibility. And instead of full service, we hear full cost recovery. This is the new paradigm, one which devalues the community. We will hear from Roy later about how this devaluation of our community impacts you and me. This is not to say that our city leaders aren't doing anything right. They're accomplishing much good, mainly using our federal allotment of community development block grant funds. For example, the city's Neighborhood Services Division is providing valuable support for neighborhoods, including partnering with nonprofit Community Housing Works to provide state-of-the-art training for neighborhood leaders. The city partners with Reveal Escondido Creek, a collaborative of environmental groups and nonprofits focused on implementing a student-created vision which will transform the Escondido Creek flood control channel into a 7-mile linear park. The city took active leadership in establishing and now helps fund the Alliance for Regional Solutions Regional Homeless Shelter Network, which serves the most vulnerable of our neighbors. With the city now working with the Interfaith Community Services as the provider of the Escondido Emergency Shelter. These are all important actions taken by our city which have a great impact on our quality of life, and we commend our city leaders for these things. But in the areas of recreation and community services, we believe that the shift from a full-service city to one focused on full-cost recovery is ill-advised. It abandons long-cherished and deeply held values, therefore devaluing our community and actually diminishing our quality of life. No matter how principled it sounds, it is misguided policy which harms the community. Subsidy has become a 7-letter word. We are told sternly by city leaders, no more subsidies for recreation. A troubling implication is, it's as though we have been freeloading all these years and now must pay our way. There's something deeply flawed with that idea. The presupposition is that it is their money which we, the community, have been taking advantage of, and they're just trying to protect and maximize their assets. Of course, the reality is the money is the taxpayers' money, and the council is the steward of the people's money. Even the poorest residents pay their share in sales taxes, which are the largest source for the city, source of revenue for the city. The reality is all city residents as taxpayers are entitled to have their tax dollars used to provide public recreation and community services which greatly contribute to their quality of life. Wise leaders have recognized this here and throughout the world for centuries. In Escondido, leaders have long sought to maximize those services for the benefit of the community, especially children and youth, who are our future. In the next segments of our presentation, Pat will provide the financial backdrop for all of this. Roy will discuss some specific consequences of this shift in policy. And Rick will explore the reasons for the shift and what happens if this trend continues. Then we invite you to join the panel in discussing what our response as a community should be.